Diddy scores a huge courtroom victory as prosecutors drop key parts of the charges. Now, apparently, the government is no longer planning on to proceed on theories of liability, so instructions are no longer necessary. So they dropped two different charges: the arson charge and what is this? The arson and the kidnapping. They've dropped. So he's gone from 8 charges to 6. People are saying,
does that count as beating the charge, or is that just charge lost?
No, they just dropped the charge. So I'd say you beat it. You weren't found innocent, but they dropped the charges, which means I'm not sure they could bring him again or not.
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer.
Or they don't feel confident enough in the evidence they presented.
Yeah. Like, what do you... I mean, some people are looking at this saying, like, hey, this is just they didn't think they had a good enough case on it, and they don't want the jury to be like, hey, I think this is just like them kicking the juror. I think this is the prosecution thinking, oh boy, I don't think we're going to get a conviction on these two, so let's drop them so the jury doesn't have to think about them and then consider maybe dropping all charges. I think this is actually strategic by the prosecution. This is being sold as a win. I mean, he did burn Kid Cudi's car. That's not up for debate. The kidnapping I always thought was a little spurious.
Well, okay, with the car, did he light the fire himself or did he have it lit?
I don't know that answer.
Because that's why I would drop if I was prosecuting, that's why I would drop the arson charge. If you can't say he specifically lit it, then did he himself commit the arson?
Yeah, that I don't know. They said they didn't have enough proof to prove the kidnapping, arson, and some of the trafficking claims. Yep. It's like I've always said, yeah, they have him dead to rights on prostitution and drugs, but is that worth 25 years to life in prison? Is that what we're really worried about? Like, yeah. I don't think so. I think this is a nefarious, I want to get loose take. I think this is a spicy 4D chess move because they don't want to have these people getting access, or they don't want these people questioning the overall charges.
Yeah. I mean, this falls in line with the prediction that I've been making that there's a big chance here that he's going to be walking from.
I think, yeah, it could be.
Because again, when you're, the juror was interesting that they got rid of because they said that he lied about where he lived. He allegedly was having a place, but was staying at his girlfriend's place in New Jersey, which would get him out of the pool. A lot of people are saying they kind of did this because he was a black man, and they're saying that black men would have more sympathy towards another fellow black man.
That's what I think, right?
Like the O.J. Simpson case here. Brianna Morello is reporting that Fox News got it all wrong, that the charges were not dropped by the DOJ. But we're still waiting to get official kind of confirmations to exactly what's happening here.
When did she say that? Again, just recently?
She said it 2 hours ago. But again, it's an all-female prosecution team. Okay.
Yeah, that's on purpose.
I want Gary, GG33, to come in here, give us his real comments about that. But no, I mean, it's Marine.
This is true. This is here it is right here.
Yeah.
Here's the Department of Justice of file. They did drop them.
They submitted a letter, yeah.
Yeah, this is real. They did. They submitted the letter. Yeah. But this is new. This is in the last hour.
Yeah, but
I have a Fox News report up that has an editor's note that says a previous version of this report indicated that that charges dropped that all the charges were dropped. And
okay.
They misreported it.
I think they're trying to narrow it down because they understand all it takes is one person. It just takes one person
trying to
on
simplify
the jury,
it, right?
Yeah, to say not guilty, and then Diddy gets the walk. And I think, and a lot of people are like, no, he's absolutely going to go down. No, there's a reason this prosecution team failed to interview any kind of high-level profile people here. Obama should have been interviewed here. The Clintons should have been interviewed here. Ellen should have been interviewed here. Bieber should have been interviewed here. Usher should have been interviewed here. But I think, this is a Democrat cover-up operation, and I think they covered it up way too much to the point where
they didn't have any evidence. Yeah.
I mean, you look at the text messages, there's some of these alleged victims that were literally rewatching their own kind of perverse adult videos back to each other in a celebratory type of fashion, then claiming that they were victims.
Yeah.
There's text messages highlighting how, they were all down for more of these parties. that now they claim to be victims of, as they raked in over $30+ million from hotels and from Diddy previously beforehand. So again, I thought the prosecution here did an awful job here. They didn't connect the dots. They didn't look into the deeper kind of meanings and the deeper kind of aspects of this story, and clearly they were running very loose with the facts here, and I think they failed. I think Diddy's going to walk free, like I said a couple weeks ago when this whole thing started, as it was unfolding and everyone was saying no. I think that is the case here.
Yeah, it seems more
skeptical about the results of this trial for a while now. I mean, it never seemed like the prosecution was doing a good job presenting the evidence based on the charges that they were bringing. I mean, they spent so much time on the celebrity angle and the interpersonal angle about, the abuse suffered by girlfriends or whatever was alleged. But then it never seemed like they clinched their racketeering charge, which seemed to be the biggest charge against him at the time.
They only need...
Sorry, Jeremy, I didn't cut you off.
No, they only need 2 out of the 8 charges to get the RICO escalation, though. So, I mean, to me, I think that cutting the juror and dropping these charges are more likely an indication, as you guys have said, that they're worried about getting a guilty verdict. That they spread themselves too thin and they just didn't. There was also yesterday, they said that the defense, do you know how long the defense only talked for 20 minutes before they rested. And initially I was like, wow, that's crazy. But then some people with more legal knowledge than me, they pointed out like, hey, look, they just probably went up there and were like, hey, these guys didn't prove anything. They didn't prove there's not a lot to say when you feel like you've planted reasonable doubt during your cross-examination, during the witness stand, people, to like where you go and you're like, yo, they didn't prove anything. And that's kind of all you have to say. Right. You don't really do like a long protracted thing. Like
I wasn't surprised that some people were like, Diddy's not going to testify on whatever. Like that wasn't surprising to me. But I think one of the things that people reporting on cases forget is that the burden of proof is on the state, and the state is seemingly struggling from the get-go. No, that's possibly because of the quality of the prosecution team. It's also probably because I think they were ambitious in their charges, if not mistaken in their charges, and they're going after him for something that doesn't really line up with the evidence that they had. Why they would do that, I don't know. But it doesn't seem like the burden. It doesn't seem like bringing in 400 character witnesses for Diddy would really do anything for the defense. It would just fatigue the jury and ultimately create even more questions, which they don't really need.
So anybody want to make, I think Luke kind of already made his prediction. Give me a prediction, but then a percentage of confidence. So I think, the jury's deliberating now. So we could get a verdict any day now. A quick verdict is bad for Diddy. We could get a verdict today. Although I thought that...
You think a quick verdict is bad? I feel like a quick verdict, it's possible they were like, yeah, none of what the state said made sense. We're done, Yeah,
well, I was going to say, I felt that way about Kyle, but he was not guilty on all counts, and they came back pretty quickly. I'm still going to go with a guilty verdict with a 65% confidence rate. And the reason I'm 65% confident is because of the Cuomo factor and the fact that it's in the Southern District of New York, which matters. What do you think? What do you think, Luke?
80% not guilty.
Okay.
So we'll see. Listen, New York City is filled with a bunch of like crazy degenerates, right?
Maybe it was all about just ruining his career.
It is like Sodom and Gomorrah.
That's
down
true.
there, right? So there's a lot of fellow, pervy pervs out there.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's going to be a bunch of people that are going to be like, nah, he's just a freak, he's a freak, like the people on the jury, and he's not guilty. Plus the celebrity status, I think, matters. And I think the prosecution did a horrible job here. Just absolutely.
I think they bored him to death. I think the number of witnesses what do you think, Ken and Claire? I think the number of witnesses they brought in looked desperate.
Yeah, I think.
Why did they bring in
the
so many?
Witnesses didn't seem like there were lots of sort of gossipy, so to speak, witnesses, but it didn't seem like they had a lot of technical people being like, this is like, they should have had a really streamlined story running through it. And instead it got totally covered by superfluous emotional things. They were banking, and maybe it's because they're women, they were banking on the emotional arguments to make their case when they had what I would consider very technical charges. So
where are you at? Make your call.
Okay, so like I stopped following this case very closely just because it went on forever and I wasn't that interested in it. So I feel like I'm not super confident. I'm going to say 75%, but I think it's going to be a not guilty verdict. If the arson one was still on the table or one of the lesser charges, I think you could maybe get a conviction on one of those. But for the most part, I think they argued a sexual harassment or sexual assault case on RICO charges. It didn't really make sense.